Hey y'all. Hello. I want to talk. I do want to talk. I do want to share some experiences and some things that I went through this past year. I want to talk to you today about, well, it's a continuation, but um still about codependency. It's still about comfort zones and control. If you watch any of my past videos, then you'll see where I was, and how I was feeling in those actual spaces and actual seasons. I encourage you to go watch them. But if not, you can just rock with me on this video. Okay. So um this time last year, I was living still at my dad's house. I shared with you guys that the previous season I was living with my dad for a few years. Guy had called me back home to work on myself, to get closer to God. He sat me down to get healing with my family, my relationship with my father, my relationship with again my father, myself, just working on who I was as a woman. Yeah, me working on finances. It really wasn't necessarily about that, but just all the areas in my life. He needed me to be sat down and not in my busy space of going here, going there, traveling. Um, I can take care of everything by myself mentality. Like he had to sit me down. So I was living with my dad, just giving you that background information if this is your first time watching a video of mine. Um, but I was living with him, and again, December 2021, I was kind of coasting. At this point, I had stopped fighting God. I had, leaned into the process. I dug into the process. I'm journaling, I'm crying, I'm getting my healing and deliverance from God during this time in the season. So this was a space last year where I was kind of on autopilot. I was just, again, like coasting. I wasn't really putting too much effort and energy into my day to day. I wasn't like on a full-time job or anything like that. I was just content and in a comfort zone. I was in my comfort zone, for lack of better words. I was chilling hard at that. I had no real major responsibilities because, again, I was living with my dad. I knew that my dad was going to take care of everything. He was paying for like the majority of the bills, of course, like, rent or like mortgage and water bills, electricity, stuff like that. I was just taking care of my personal expenses, which is my nail polish, um, gas in my car, um, double cheeseburgers and ice cream. That's part of my budget. Hulu, I was paying for Hulu. That's what I was paying for. I'm being honest. Okay, we're gonna be 100% honest in this video right now. Okay, let's just put it out there. Which is great. I think that sometimes in life, sometimes we need that. We may look down upon that sometimes, or even like for myself, I'm like, man, I'm bumming it. Like I should be in corporate America killing it right now. I could be stacking up 60, 70, 100K right now on a job. I want that. No, I didn't. God gave me a clip of that real quick and he said, you don't want this. This is not you, Krista. Relax. Um, but I feel like that is good and it's necessary sometimes for us to just have a space to heal. So I'm extremely grateful for God that he allowed me to have that, because if I would have just went straight into what I feel like I wanted, I'm like, I want to be 25 with 3 kids and married and, 2.5 doggies running around. I'm just like, I wouldn't have been able to, in all seriousness, I wouldn't have been able to, for myself, in my state of brokenness, been able to work on myself. I wouldn't have been able to take the true time that I needed for Krista. I would have given all of my energy into a marriage. I would have given all of my energy into children running around. I would have given all of my energy into all these other things that I would have had to been responsible for them at that time if I would have said it. If, what I spoke would have came, into fruition. So again, I was chilling at my dad's house and I was comfortable. Again, I was comfortable. I was in a comfort zone. I didn't have too much to worry about. I didn't have too much to do throughout my day-to-day life. I was still wanting more, um, seasons before that, when I was still kicking and screaming in my independent space, again, I was wanting to leave. I was not wanting to have to like live with someone else. I wanted my own freedom. I wanted my own space. But when I began to like lean into that, I leaned into it. I'm like, okay, I can get used to this. I'm chill. But again, silently, I have been praying to God. Like, God, I want more. Like, I want the next season. I want the next space that you have for me. I want more. Like, what next can I be doing for you? Like, what is it that, how can I be doing and fulfilling my purpose more? Like, how can I grow more? Like, I was still looking for things to do spiritually for me to grow and to accelerate, because again, that's the season of what I was in, to grow spiritually as a woman. He didn't want me growing on a career wise. He didn't want me growing in the areas that, again, that was gonna edify my flesh or to like worldly desires. Again, he was having me grow spiritually. So I was still praying for that deep down inside in my heart. I was praying for the next space and the next season while being stagnant on the other side, if that makes sense. But I remember one day, this was a time where it was still heavy COVID. It was still monkeypox and dog pox and raccoon pox was still popping up. COVID strand 3, strand 4 was still circulating at this time. Like, I don't know, all these crazy names they have for COVID, pretty much. If you're watching this video, you have successfully survived COVID. So y'all know what I'm talking about if you are alive to watch this video, okay? So it was still health scares on the news. And again, like, my dad, he's older and he had other like health conditions going on. So he was thinking about his own health. He was very much so saran wrapped up. Like, he had gloves on, mask on. He was like, listen, I'm not going to get got out here. You're not about to catch me with COVID, and you better not bring COVID home either. So that was his mindset with me. It was very much so like fear. Like, he was watching the news every day. He was watching CNN. He was watching Barbara Streisand on The View every day. Like, they're always talking about that on the news during this time. But that's like not the fake news, but it's like the real news that was that was happening during that time. And I'm just in my space of, okay, you know, like, God's protecting me. I'm not concerned about this. You know, I'm just gonna pray to God for protection. I'm not really going out too much, but I knew that, again, like, my dad was fearful. Like, he had a heavy spirit and sense of fear about this whole thing, as very much so the rest of the world did. Like, I'm not trying to make light of people who lost their lives or like suffered from like catching it or like serious health conditions. But again, I'm just saying that to say, like, I was just in a bubble. I was just leaning into God for protection and trusting him for that. I wasn't allowing the outside to kind of affect my mind. But my dad was very much so scared about this. So a few weeks later, I remember it was around New Year's Eve time. There was a young lady, she invited me to church, and I'm like, okay, cool. I'm always down to go to church, but again, I'm living with my dad, so I know that I have to come and talk to him. It's going to be a whole thing. Again, I just gave y'all background to say all that, to say where his mindset was. He was in a space of fear, so he didn't, since I was living with him, I had to submit and to move a certain type of way because I was living with him. So it's already one way when you're living with your parent, you know, no matter what age you are, they still, a parent that's concerned. Some parents, they're controlling, but some parents, they're just, mostly if you're a parent with a child, you're just concerned about your child's safety. You want to know where they are because you're concerned about them. And it's respectful, and they're holding you accountable. So I understood the mindset that he was in during that time, but I felt very like confined, you know, again, that's how the world was moving at the time. And he was like, listen, I'm fearful you going to the grocery store. Let me know when you're coming back. I don't want you catching that and bringing it home to me. Okay. You're not about to get me sick. That's where he was. So, again, a young lady had invited me to church one day. And I knew this was God. It was like a ministry thing that he had orchestrated. So I'm like, I said yes. I accepted the invitation, and I didn't tell my dad about this, y'all. I didn't tell my dad that I was about to get ready to go. I just made sure I was looking cute. I picked out my outfit the night before, you know, made sure my baby hairs was laid properly, bundled up, because in Texas, it was cold. We get snow in Texas. So I was bundled up, had my outfits, my boots, everything laid out, was ready to go, and look cute and fresh. And I knocked on his door that morning and I let him know, hey, he saw me dressed as he was already getting riled up. He was already getting I felt like I knew it was gonna, I didn't tell him, so I already knew it was gonna be an issue with him that I was leaving. So I knocked on his door and I told him, hey, I'm gonna be leaving. I'm going to church for a few hours. And then right when I said that, it was just like something flipped inside of him. And he immediately began to escalate code red. He began to go on code red. And he's a big man. So he exercises that authority when need be. When he feels like it's necessary. So he began to get into a space of just like yelling, getting mad, and it fast forward in the conversation, it just got to a point where he was like, listen, if you're gonna be leaving, you can't stay here no more. You gotta go. And I'm like, in a very, imagine that coming from a very big man. Very tall, 6'3", 6'4" man. So I'm like, okay. I had to work through the feelings of feeling like a little girl whenever I had to kind of face an issue or face a conversation, a conflict, or I knew that came from my dad, or if it was anybody that had like a sense of authority, I just turned to like a little girl. Like I just felt like on the inside, okay, like I would kind of shut down on the inside. But I began to kind of get over that, to strengthen my muscles and to heal from those spaces and not to feel crippled. So I'm like, okay, like I still made the choice to go because I knew that God was telling me that I needed to go. I needed to meet with the young lady. I needed to go to church that day. It was something that, again, he was leading me to do. It wasn't just my decision to go. So I went. I said, okay. I didn't have too much of a back and forth with him. I got a little teary-eyed, but I tried to like suck it back in because the conversation that got elevated. I was respectful and I just left. And the whole time on my way there to the church, I was talking to God. I'm like, okay, what's this? Like, this is ridiculous. Like, I don't have to stay here. I'm all my emotions and my my little crybaby moments that I was having to myself, and still trying to listen to my worship music and not like have a frustrated mindset on my way to church. Like I'm about to go worship and all my peace is disrupted. But again, I already knew that it was going to be something, just not to that level. So that day, we had conversations before about just moving, going in and out of stores, because again, he was in a space of just trying to protect me as a parent. But that day, it was just elevated. So when I was driving, I ended up just like kind of like talking it through. And I was talking to God, and I really didn't understand where this space was going to come from. I'm like, man, I don't want to keep having these conversations. I don't want to be feeling constricted. I don't want to be feeling confined. I. But I was talking to someone, and they were just like letting me know that, hey, like God is opening a door for you. This is not coming from just your dad. Like, what if this is an opportunity for you to bust a move? Like, what are you going to do? You're going to go back and you're going to be in a space where you're in a comfort zone. You're being content with just this pause in life. Like, this season is expired, clearly. It's time for you to go to the next space. So you're either going to go back and you're going to kind of submit to a day-to-day life where it's not producing anything, or you're going to like step out of this comfort zone in this space of fear, and like the other side gonna be a big girl and you're gonna make a move. Like what decision are you gonna make? So I had to sit with that decision, and God was revealing to me that, hey, like this argument, this thing, this stirring of the pot, this whole conversation is not just not just your dad. I'm still working through him and allowing these things to happen. I'm allowing this disruption to happen, this chaos to happen, in order for you to wake up, in order for you to be prompted to make a decision, in order for you to actually have an open door, to get a push, get a nudge, to get a shake, actually, a foot out the nest, and to actually use your wing. So I quickly just made a decision. I understood and I was aware of what God was doing. And I knew that it wasn't like personal for my dad. I still went home and I still was carrying those emotions. Like, I can't believe he said that. But again, I knew it wasn't from him. Like, how his personality is, he'll move on past something really quickly and just be like, all right, you want something to eat? What you trying to eat? Like, and I'm over here buried, like carrying the emotions. That's just his personality. He moves on from things quickly. So it wasn't any issue between us. I had to quickly get over my emotions. I could not allow myself to be stuck in the space of my emotions and how offended I was. And I can't believe he said that. I can't believe this situation is happening. I don't want this. I could not allow myself to carry on that mindset because I knew that there was growth that needed to happen. I knew that God was actually the one that was causing, again, the chaos and the disagreement and the argument that was happening that day, that happened in that moment. And once I understood that, it's a lesson that I will forever carry, that sometimes we feel like when we're praying to God for something and when we're asking God for change, or when sometimes we may not even be fully asking for it, we're comfortable and content with our situation. God allows this chaos to happen. He allows these situations and circumstances to kind of shake us up for us to be prompted to bust a move, for us to be forced out of the door, because he knows that we wouldn't be leaving a comfort zone any other way, because it's a comfort zone. Why would we choose to naturally leave something that's comfortable for us, that's convenient? Whether it's a relationship that feels like you're codependent on that person, like you're used to that person taking care of you, or you have history with that person, you've been with them for a super long time, or if it's your family member, you feel like that's my family always got my back, family over everything, or you feel like I've been at this job for 15 years, like I don't want to start over again, like I don't want to like start in, I'm in corporate America, I don't want to be like a painter, or I don't want to do something that's going to be less or take a pay cut or anything like that. Like whatever we feel like is a comfort zone for us, it's comfortable. Like we don't want to have to leave those situations to face something that's the unknown, because it's fearful, it's scary, we feel like in the natural is us taking a step back. We have to bear on more responsibility. These are all the things that I was feeling, at least for myself. I was feeling like I have to put forth more effort in order for me to just go through my regular day-to-day with like working with, other things that I had going on during that time, like in the background. So I decided to say yes. I decided to not blame everything on the devil and blame it on, well, it was the enemy causing this disruption. Let me just fight against this. Like, I had to recognize what God was doing, and for me to say, you know what? I am in a space to move. I am in a space to do something different, to do something bold, because again, that's another thing that I've learned along my journey of just different things, of me trying new outfits, of me cutting my hair, of me letting go of past friendships and those past relationships. I had to do things that was, again, it's uncomfortable. It's scary. It's a fear of judgment. It's a fear of what somebody else is gonna like think about me. What am I like gonna do? Like what is this gonna look like? Like I've had to always continuously be uncomfortable in order for me to grow. Like I've never grown in a space where I was comfortable. Never. Not in a true space of healing. I've never, in my experience, I've never grown from an initial space of, oh, this is easy and I'm coasting. This is an easy conversation. This is an easy giant for me to face. Like it's always been something that's been challenging because, again, my muscles are being challenged. I'm having to pick up more weight in order for me to actually build that muscle. So yeah, I'm just reflecting on that. I'm reflecting on what that looked like for me in that process. And then I learned too that sometimes when it's initially chaos, I was making moves in silence. Like I didn't go to my dad and let him know, you know what, I'm going to leave and I didn't have those conversations with him. I just began to just put in the work. Once I said yes, I had to put forth the effort. I had to begin to look for a place, and everything began to immediately become expedited for me. Like God opened the door for me to get the perfect place for me to live. He opened the door for me to have the perfect location. He opened the door for the perfect job opportunities. and the perfect time for me to meet certain people. Like, he orchestrated things perfectly. And I'm saying perfectly because it's from him, because therefore it's perfect. It led me into a space of peace, an environment of peace, an environment of joy, because this was my season for these things. I had put in all the work. I had began, like I said, healed from the broken relationships. Again, I had cut off certain relationships from like the past years ago, and I'll go more into details about that, like what that looks like and how I made those choices and decisions to let go of certain people and what certain steps of healing that I did take. But again, this video is just about initially busting the move, but he led me into a space of peace, and it was accelerated for me after I just decided to leave my comfort zone, after I decided to give God another yes. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share today, about not being stuck, about, for myself, finding myself in a space of coasting and not really reaching like my full potential, like in that space of my life. But how far God has taken me throughout this year, how far God has like blessed me in a short period of time. So yes, you have to come back for more to hear more about what are these spaces and what they look like. But I just want to share that with you today. So I'm about to catch some sleep. It's like 5 o'clock in the morning. I decided to get up and record this video. So yes, I hope it blessed you, and I hope that you have a beautiful rest of your day, and y'all come back for more. Who knows when that will be, but I'll be back. All right, I'll see y'all next time.